In the quiet outskirts of Talisay City, nestled among narrow dirt roads and crowded makeshift homes, lived a young boy named Arvin Dela Peña. His family's life was a daily struggle, a constant battle with poverty that shaped every corner of their world. Arvin's home was a tiny wooden shack, held together by rusted nails and old planks, with a roof that leaked every time the monsoon rains arrived. Water would creep in during storms, soaking the few blankets his family owned and forcing them to huddle close together for warmth. There were days when food was scarce, and Arvin went to bed hungry, not knowing where his next meal would come from. Despite these hardships, he carried a spark inside him, a fire that refused to be extinguished by circumstance. He would practice singing under the dim glow of a kerosene lamp, his voice echoing against the thin walls, growing stronger with every note, every breath. Even when the world seemed to weigh him down, Arvin found freedom in music. Arvin's journey to the America's Got Talent stage was not a straight path. For years, he had been singing at local gatherings, school events, and small street performances in Talisay City, where people often tossed a few coins into a worn-out hat as a token of appreciation. His audience was small, but Arvin's heart was enormous. Each song he sang was a story about hunger, resilience, hope, and dreams too big for a life constrained by poverty. Yet, despite his talent, he had never imagined that one day he would stand on an international stage, facing the notoriously tough Simon Cowell. The thought alone was enough to make his hands tremble. On the day of his audition, Arvin wore his only clean shirt, patched at the sleeves and slightly too big for his thin frame. He walked onto the stage barefoot, the cool studio floor unfamiliar beneath his feet, and for a moment, he felt the weight of every hardship he had ever endured. Simon Cowell, sitting on the judges' panel with his trademark stern expression, raised an eyebrow at the sight of this small, nervous boy from Talisay City. The audience whispered among themselves, unsure of what to expect. Simon's reputation preceded him. His critiques could make or break careers. But Arvin had learned long ago that talent and passion could speak louder than fear or doubt. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes for a brief second, remembering the nights of practicing under dim light, the songs he had sung alone when there was no one to cheer him on, and the promise he had made to himself to rise above his circumstances. When the first note left his lips, the audience felt it instantly. A voice full of raw emotion and unpolished brilliance, a voice that carried the weight of struggle yet soared with hope. Simon Cowell's skeptical expression faltered slightly, a flicker of curiosity replacing his usual guarded look. In that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Arvin Dela Peña, a poor village boy from Talisay City, had stepped onto the stage carrying not just his talent, but the dreams of every child growing up in hardship. No one in the theater, including Simon Cowell, could have predicted the storm of emotion and talent that was about to unfold. What started as a nervous boy from a struggling household was on the verge of delivering a performance that would be remembered long after the applause faded. A performance that reminded everyone watching that greatness can emerge from even the most unlikely places. The moment Arvin Dela Peña opened his mouth to sing, the entire theater seemed to change. His voice, raw yet astonishingly controlled, flowed like a river of emotion, carrying with it every hardship he had endured growing up in Talisay City. Every note he hit resonated with the struggles of a boy who had known hunger, storms, and sleepless nights, yet refused to let those hardships define him. It wasn't just a song, it was a story, a confession, a declaration that despite poverty, his spirit was unbroken. The audience immediately sensed it, their murmurs fading into silence as they leaned in, unable to take their eyes off the boy who seemed so small on stage, but so enormous in presence. Arvin's performance was magnetic. It drew everyone into his world, forcing them to feel the pain, hope, and determination that had shaped him. Simon Cowell, known for his sharp critiques and rarely impressed demeanor, initially sat with arms crossed, his expression a mix of skepticism and curiosity. But as Arvin continued, something shifted. The disbelief in Simon's eyes slowly gave way to astonishment. He had seen countless talented performers, yet there was something extraordinary about this boy's voice, a raw honesty and emotional depth that could not be taught or fabricated. The lyrics seemed to transcend the music, telling a story of struggle and resilience that words alone could never convey. Every note hit with perfect clarity yet carried the weight of a life spent fighting against impossible odds. By the time Arvin reached the chorus, the normally unshakable Simon Cowell was visibly affected, his gaze fixed, his usually stoic face softening in awe. Arvin's performance was more than just technical skill. It was the embodiment of hope rising from poverty. Each high note shimmered with a lifetime of dreams, while the soft, tender passages whispered of nights spent in quiet desperation. The audience felt it deeply, some dabbing at their eyes, others gripping their seats, as if the sound alone could pull them into the young boy's journey. Simon's pen, which he had idly tapped against the table at the beginning, lay still. He leaned forward, barely blinking, completely absorbed. At one point, he muttered under his breath, "This can't be real." An acknowledgement that the performance was beyond expectation, beyond rehearsed perfection, beyond the boundaries of what anyone had anticipated from a poor boy from a small Filipino city. By the end of the song, the atmosphere in the theater had shifted from curiosity to reverent awe. Arvin's voice had not only captivated but moved every soul in the room, bridging gaps between cultures, circumstances, and experiences. Simon Cowell, the judge who often expressed disapproval with cutting remarks, found himself silent, staring at the boy with wide-eyed amazement. There was no judgment here, no critique, only pure, unfiltered astonishment at witnessing raw talent that could not be measured by background or wealth. Arvin Dela Peña had done more than sing. He had delivered a performance that embodied the power of perseverance, the triumph of spirit over circumstance, and the undeniable truth that true talent knows no boundaries. When the final note of Arvin Dela Peña's performance hung in the air, the theater erupted into a wave of cheers, applause, and astonished gasps. The audience, still trying to process the sheer magnitude of what they had just witnessed, jumped to their feet, many with tears streaming down their faces. What had started as a simple audition had transformed into a historic moment, a living testament to the power of perseverance and raw talent. Arvin, the small boy from Talisay City, looked out at the sea of faces, overwhelmed by the realization that his voice, born from hardship, hunger, and countless lonely nights of practice, had touched hearts across the room. His eyes glistened with tears, not just from the applause, but from the understanding that he had broken through a world that often seemed determined to keep him invisible. Simon Cowell, the judge known worldwide for his razor-sharp critiques and rarely impressed demeanor, stood frozen for a moment, his face betraying the shock and admiration he felt but rarely displayed. Slowly, as if in disbelief, he rose to his feet. The usual stern expression was replaced by one of wonder, his eyes wide and fixed on the boy who had just defied every expectation. "Kids like you," Simon said, his voice unusually soft yet commanding, "are why we do this show. Talent like yours, it doesn't come from privilege or opportunity. It comes from heart, spirit, and determination. You have something rare, something extraordinary." The weight of Simon's words seemed almost as heavy as the applause itself, a recognition not only of Arvin's skill, but of the struggles he had endured to reach this moment. As Arvin absorbed the standing ovation, he could barely comprehend what was happening. He had grown up in a small, impoverished neighborhood where dreams often faded under the weight of reality. Yet here he was, standing on one of the largest stages in the world, having moved one of the toughest judges to genuine awe. For the audience, this wasn't just a performance. It was a story of hope, proof that talent and determination can rise from even the humblest beginnings. Cameras captured the moment Simon Cowell walked toward Arvin, offering a hand to shake, a gesture of respect and acknowledgement that transcended words. The boy's heart swelled as he realized that this applause, this recognition, wasn't just for his voice. It was for every child who dared to dream despite poverty, every family struggling to survive, and every person who had been told their circumstances defined them. By the time the cheering subsided, the room had shifted. Arvin Dela Peña, a poor boy from Talisay City, had become a symbol of possibility. Simon Cowell, usually the embodiment of composure and critique, had been made human by the performance, proving that true talent has the power to break barriers, evoke empathy, and inspire millions. As the young boy left the stage, tears streaming down his cheeks, he carried with him more than the memory of applause. He carried the knowledge that his voice, born of struggle, could change the world. That night, the story of a poor village kid leaving Simon Cowell speechless wasn't just entertainment. It was a testament to resilience, a reminder that greatness often emerges from the most unexpected places, and that dreams, no matter how unlikely, are worth chasing.